want to welcome everybody here to the first ever edition here on Anchor, first ever Automation Nation podcast. I am your host and trainer, the Automator, founder of AutomationMastery.net, Justin Morgan, here to help you automate your business, master your destiny, and master your impact. So, as we get ready for our journey, I'm here to kind of share some stories, some information, some knowledge. Ultimately, you're a coach, you're a speaker, maybe you're just a digital entrepreneur. You're in the right place. I'm on the journey. I'm here to bring you along with me as I go ahead and automate my businesses and also help you automate yours and, go along the things that I've learned along this path. See, like many of you, again, if you're here, maybe you're a coach, considering being a speaker, anything like that. And like you, I started out as a motivational speaker. I see, as a kid, I was a funny kid. I was the kid who idolized heroes, right? So I was a kid who grew up, could have been found in a cape or, having these invisible fights with enemies and bad guys, all because I knew I wanted to be able to save the world and help people. And as I got older, that need and that want just continued to intensify. The more that I watched and heard about tragedies on the news, heard about people who were impoverished, people that were living in hunger, people that are living in oppression, this need and want to help people just strengthened. And so the question became, right, how do I make this happen? Again, I knew government was slow, and I got that nonprofits were these, not profitable things. And, well, business was this high-powered machine that seemed to be unstoppable, me doing amazing things. So that's the mantle that I took. And so the next thing I had to figure out was, well, what business? Again, like you, it was kind of had to get to that mode of, well, what business do I get into? Like, what do I do? And so I tried a million different things. Of course, I tried every get rich quick scheme that I could possibly find, because I figured that if I had money, I could do whatever I needed to do. If I had money, I could accomplish something. If I had money, I'd be important. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to get rich quick. And I tried all the make money bots, the gambling bots, the Forex bots, the marketing bots. I tried every stinking robot that there possibly was. I got pretty familiar with that industry. But I didn't really find what I wanted to. So, ultimately I got to a point where I partnered with this one guy. I answered this Craigslist post, again, I was excited. I answered this Craigslist post, ended up trying to start this business with this guy. And in the midst of that, I started this YouTube channel. Now, the business didn't continue on, but I did fall in love with the process of making YouTube videos like many people did. And I wasn't the next PewDiePie or anything crazy like that. But I fell in love with the platform. And so I decided that just like everybody else, I was a victim of the age, is what I would say. I was a victim of the age. And I decided I would be a successful speaker and a coach. And I had to get up on stage and grow my platform on video. So my big goal was to become the biggest speaker possible and become the best coach possible and speak on the largest stages possible. I just figured that if I did that, I'd find success. Okay. Now, at this point in time, right? At this point in time, I figured that if I spoke on a big stage, right? So again, it just wasn't for any reason. I figured if I spoke on a big stage, and that dream I had of a child, the dream I had, and when I was, wearing capes and making weird sound effects as I was kicking and punching invisible enemies as a kid, right? That need to save, that need to help, that need to be a hero. I figured that if I got on a big stage, I'd be able to do that. I'd be able to help people from the tragedy that was their own life, right? I was able to actually go out there and help them defeat their own doubt, help them defeat their own fears, defeat their own uncertainty, defeat their own obstacles. And I felt like my voice was enough, and that if I spread it far enough and I got it into the ears and the minds of enough people, I could shift culture and start movements that actually destroyed that poverty that I saw on the news, that put out the flame of hate on those news stories that I heard over the radio, and that actually inspired the people that I would meet each and every day that had these amazing things they wanted to do, and hopefully get them to live in their brilliance. Now, this was all pie in the sky, right? So obviously this was nice. It was nice to think about, nice to plan, nice to dream about, but I had to take some action. So in order for me to get on the biggest stage, right? In order to get on the biggest stage, I had to start speaking. So I tried to hold these workshops, things like that. But it led to me deciding to take a leap, right? So again, I knew I needed to get on a stage. And so what I did was I actually opted in to this opportunity. I signed up and got an access to this big stage. Again, the biggest stage I had probably had a chance to be on at that time. Again, before this, I'd done a few workshops. I've been doing videos on YouTube. So nothing major. So it was the big thing. This will be my breakout moment right here, right now will be my breakout moment. So I opted in, and it actually was a paid to play opportunity. If you've never run into one of those, if you're a speaker, if you're in the industry long enough, you'll get a chance to run into a pay to play deal. And they're not necessarily bad or good, and we can talk about it another time. But ultimately, it took an investment. It took hundreds of dollars for me to get on the stage. So I was nervous, right? Because I was like, all right, well, I've been speaking to just these small crowds and these local things. I'm not really making any money. I got to figure out how I can do something big. So I committed to this. I took out a credit card, like smart stuff, right? Took out a credit card and I invested. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to make some money. And it's going to be successful. So I'm excited. I'm pumped. So what do I do? Like what everybody else is doing. So I do what every other speaker is doing, right? I go out and I create my website. So again, I'm supposed to have one, like it's a requirement as a business owner, have a website. So I did it. I set up in WordPress. I spent hours and hours and hours of frustration, hours of tears, hours of stress trying to get this thing up. And I still couldn't figure it out. So what do I then do? I go hire somebody. So I spend some more money, another hundreds of dollars, to again hire somebody to help me out. Getting expensive. So I'm sitting there. I remember it came time for the event. It's a 3-day event. I'm sitting there close to the front on the left side of the room, got my computer kind of there, trying to kind of turn it so people don't see what I'm doing, just because I'm still working on the site. And I'm sitting there like nervously checking on my guy's progress, trying to make sure that it was done. And at the end of it, it didn't work like I wanted it to. I spent all the time, spent all that money, and it still wasn't ready, right? And it wouldn't be ready in time for me to speak. And so I felt like I was sitting there at the doorstep of the biggest door possible. Like I was sitting there at the doorstep of a giant, that giant being this huge opportunity. I was looking up at it underdressed. Like I was that guy at the party who showed up to a black and white attire event, and I showed up in jeans and a graphic tee, right? So I felt like that guy. Like I just was not in the right place. And so, but look, I'm Justin Morgan. And I'm creative, I'm persistent. And so I stuck to it. I said, okay, what can I do right now? So I was paying attention. There was other speakers, some of these other coaches who were doing this thing. They'd go up on stage. They would talk about, they would go talk, and then they would have people opt into this number. So it'd be like, text the word wealth to, 240-555-6655, right? And they would text in, we get a response. So I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. What if I do this? I don't have a website, but what if I can get people into an appointment and, I get them to text me. I just text them back. So what if I do this? So I get in this scramble, right? So again, I pull out the laptop, I turn it to the side so people can't see what I'm doing. And I start getting to work on this. So I get a free Google number from Google Voice. All right. So if you might have done that, that it was free. I was like, I edited and updated my presentation so that people could text it in, and I could get their phone number, and I was like excited. So I figured it out. So, and then I go and I deliver my speech, the biggest speech of my career. People texted in. I was excited. Like my phone was going off. Happy. I made this adjustment. I made this simple adjustment. Now, what was funny though was after I figured all this, like people started texting, it hit me afterwards. I'm like, once the dopamine and the adrenaline kind of, settled itself down after I spoke, I realized that I have to text all these people back. I got to manually text all these people back. So I get in this scramble of texting people back, playing phone tag, trying to schedule appointments, trying to figure out times, calling people, texting people, calling people, voicemails. And after all of this running around, I get appointments and I get some people that come on. I get 0 sales. None. Not a one. 0. I was heartbroken. Crushed. Frustrated. I had spent all this money, time, resources trying to make this happen, and not a thing. I know you've been there. You're a coach, you're a speaker, you did a small gig or something like that. You got that big opportunity and you know what it feels like. I was broken a little bit, just slightly, but I knew I had to press on. So I knew I had to press on at this point. So I did some more learning because I figured, what am I missing? Right. So I thought I had the perfect presentation. So would my presentation need work? People seemed to be interested. I got people opted in. They were interested and excited. What was missing? So I did some reflection, watched tons of content. And after just diving in all this content, I realized my mistake. See, I did a couple of things wrong. I spent all my time putting together a website and that I never really fully developed a system. See, I realized I made a website, but didn't make a system. That was the first thing. I spent too much time on the website and not enough time creating a system that actually would have efficiently served me in that situation. And then the second mistake is that I thought I had a system, but it really was the copy and didn't have the soul of the systems I was watching. It's the same as if you go over your, you go over your grandmother's house and she cooks that pie. It's that amazing pie. And you taste it, and then so you go home and you decide that you're going to try to emulate it. You're going to try to copy. You're going to try to make that same pie, and it just doesn't turn out the same, and you can't figure out why. It's either a secret technique, secret sauce, secret ingredient, but something's missing. And so I did the same thing. I watched what other speakers were doing without understanding that secret sauce. And so what I had to do at this point in time was figure out what that secret sauce was. Well, I had to figure that out. So what I did at this point in time, again, I'm watching all of this content, trying to figure this stuff out. Again, my plan was to figure out what the secret sauce was. So I go out there, I'm learning, I'm studying, I'm learning, and I'm studying, and I'm trying to find the right thing. And again, I find these guys, the same guys who hosted the event. That was the largest opportunity of my life. I found these guys. Again, I started watching. I started listening, started tuning in. Again, they were talking about the systems and the tools that they use for the business. They're talking about evergreen this and sequence that. But ultimately, it came down to them using a system. They were using a system. So I needed to go out and figure out how to create my own system. So I went out there and I started investing in training, started investing in software, started investing in systems to the point where I left my bank account empty. Like, again, I told you I had maxed out a credit card at first. And then again, I was spending money I did not have to get tools that I thought that I needed. But still, at the end of all of that, again, I started using and getting systems. I still wasn't making any money. And again, I didn't understand why. But again, there was a source, right? So again, these guys, Shay Brown and Trevor Ross, the Peak Performance Institute, they had this event. So again, I said, there's something these guys are doing. I realized that what I needed to do was not just learn from them. I needed to not just listen to them, not just study them. I needed to work with and for them if I was going to learn what I really needed to learn. And it was at that time that things changed, right? For the first time, where I saw what it was really like to be on the other side of a business transaction. I saw what it was really like to play on a team that's actually creating revenue. I saw what it was actually like for money to hit my bank account outside of my 9-to-5 job, right? Like it was this thing. It's like, wait, it's not coming from a paycheck from some corporate group. Like this is the money's real. Like it's hitting my bank account. It was amazing. I was happy because again, it just gave me that sense of relief that this was possible, that it can happen, that these systems work. I had watched it work for them day in and day out, event in and event out. They're getting appointments. They're selling people, not just on these low ticket small things, but selling people on 4, 5, and even 6-figure deals because they had a system. And then the magic is they did all this without some complicated website. They focused on creating and using quick and efficient systems that fit their business needs inside of the context of those specific times. Sometimes when working with them, the systems that we set up, I just log in to a couple pieces of software, taking about 5 minutes to set it up. Now, I'm not saying that works all the time for everything, and that's not the only setup required, but it was just powerful to see that all I needed was a few minutes to make this happen. And it actually be used to make money. No days and hours of wasted configuring websites and not doing anything. Also, again, I'm just looking at what these guys are doing. They're serving, they're helping, they're working with fellow entrepreneurs, people that are also out there making change. And again, it just struck me that if that little kid, the same one who was pretending to be a Power Ranger, pretending to be a superhero, if he wanted to change the world, just like those heroes had a team, he needed to go out and also enlist the help of others. And the best way for me to do that was to help entrepreneurs just like these guys were. And then at the same time, I realized, hey, Justin, if I spent all that time, all that money on a website, all that time and money on help, and I still didn't get a result, I bet you there are other coaches, other people who are world changers, other people out there who are heroes, who can change the world, that can use this shift, the same shift that shows the power of having a system, and not a system that costs you a ton of money and time, but a system that works for them, that works for their situation, that works for their context. I knew that if I could not just do this and also create the thing, create the system, create the training, create the products and the services that could do that, that could give coaches and speakers a system they need to operate at their optimal level, to finally see what it's like myself, for money to hit your bank account that isn't a result of you clocking in and clocking out at a job. If I can do that, then those people can go out there and serve other people. I can change the world. And it's because of this. Is why I'm here now with you on this podcast. It's why I'm here now delivering this story. It's why I'm here now going to be pushing out content to you on a weekly basis and a daily basis, likely, just to talk about my journey, talk about what I'm doing each and every day, talk about how I can help you, talk about the things that you can do on your journey to automate your business, which means you're using a system in your business that allows you to focus on the things you should be doing. See, on that day that I was sitting there with my big opportunity, I spent all my time on that website, and I wasn't spending the time and energy on what I should have been doing. Should have been thinking about the system. I should have been thinking about my stories and my presentation. Should have been thinking about my follow-up. Should have been thinking about my sales message. Should have been thinking about the product and the service and how I can optimize that experience for the client and customer. Those are things I should have been doing. But because I was busy spending time on the website, I didn't have time to spend mastering my destiny, which is doing the thing I'm supposed to do. So again, everybody, automate your business. Get a system in place so you can master your destiny and then master your impact. More to come. I appreciate you. And as I end everything, as usual, treat each day as a building block to a better future. Peace.